So there's a lot of people who take time to just prepare and research and prepare, but they actually never take action, versus people who just go take action and then they refine as they go.
It all has to do with like the priorities you have in your life, because if it's really important to you and you really want to do it, then you would make the time for it.
I've shifted my mentality to kind of stray away from being afraid of failure to figuring out, okay, what can I learn if I do fail or when I fail?
It's a lot easier when you're working together because we're all going to get there eventually. It's just a matter of time. It makes it a lot harder when you're trying to compete against everyone. It should be the opposite.
And then one day I just said like, fuck it. Like I just like try to like finish this, you know, no matter how like shitty it might sound at the end of the day, I'm just gonna, you know, work on it. And then after that first song, like the second song was like so much easier to finish.
Janae Aiko made a hashtag. It was hashtag Stop Fuck Shit 2015. Stop sitting on your ass and do something with your talent.
My mom and dad sacrificed everything to come here, so I can't be scared to not take any risk.
This is something that is like huge, especially when you're working with other people. It's like you can't take things personally. It's amazing having another pair of ears to be able to hear what you're working on and get that feedback right away.
What does the world need with another musician? The world doesn't need good musicians, it needs good people.
And Lola told me, she said, why scared? Discover. What is fear? You fight him. And that really stuck with me.
Welcome back to another episode of the Kurative Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Sutarji, and this is a special episode today. This is episode 11. I interviewed 10 people so far, and I wanted to thank everybody who's supported this podcast by listening or even watching on YouTube, for the guests that came and essentially allowed me to share their story and learn from them, as well as everyone who's been sharing the podcast, asking questions, and everything like that. I really appreciate you guys. I said it before and I'm going to say it again. There's a lot of ways to help push this to the next level. So the best thing you guys can do is definitely rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts. For some reason, the way Apple Podcasts works is if you rate it and review it, it will reach more people that may not know what the Kurative Podcast is, and it'll finally bring this podcast to the next level. Another thing that you can do is ask questions whenever I offer to ask questions for my guests. This allows you guys to help me ask these questions that I may not have thought of, and it brings a different perspective every time I have a podcast episode. So I would love to get your guys' input. Definitely subscribe and get notified, just so that you can be notified anytime a new episode comes out. And the other best thing that you can do is share it with your friends and family and all your loved ones. I've gotten a lot of value from the episodes that I've had so far, and I really want to share it with others. I hope you guys got a lot of value so far, and I'm going to continue doing this. So I would really appreciate it if you help spread it and share it with all your friends. The next thing I would like to do is shout out to all the 10 guests that I've interviewed so far. They've been really amazing and trusting me to share their story. I've learned so much from them. So thank you to Kevin Galang, Kevin Quash, Kevin Kim, first three Kevins, Danny Galvez, Kristen Nguyen, Kenneth Tan, David Petroni, Angela Macarig, Michael Doman, and Josh and Rob from Nobody Important. And shout out to all the upcoming guests that are coming to be interviewed in the next few weeks. So the first section before I do the AMA is I wanted to reflect on what I've learned so far in the previous 10 episodes. What I really don't want to do is just keep releasing content and not really talk about or reflect on what the life lessons that people are providing for us. Otherwise, it would feel like I'm releasing for the sake of releasing, and this is not my intention. My intention is learning life lessons for an intentional life. And what intentional living really means to me is living a life that you want to live, as well as continuously growing and improving. And what I've learned so far from the previous 10 guests has been amazing. I really am happy that I was able to learn things that I thought I wouldn't learn from these from these kind of people. And so I'm just going to get right to it, and hopefully you guys get the same value that I got from these episodes. And don't forget, if you want to learn more about these people, definitely go back to the previous episodes. There's so much great content. I'm just giving a summary of it. So the first thing that really came up was about resistance being a bitch. And what resistance means is fear, doubt, anything that seems to be pulling you away from what you really want to do. And there's this book called The War of Art that I read recently, actually. And resistance can come in many ways, in many forms, and very often. And what you have to do is you just have to fight it every time. People like Kevin Galang, Kevin Kim, Kristen, Kenneth, these people had a lot of resistance when they were trying to do what they wanted to do, and they essentially fought it. And don't get me wrong, like, it's very hard. Even for me, when I started doing my video and podcast, I really had a lot of resistance, saying like, the fear of being in front of the camera, or the fear of listening to my own voice, not having the right place to do it. And what I've learned is that every time you fight that fear, you go past that resistance, it's going to be easier for you to go to the next level. And that fear of failure, that resistance, is going to get weaker and weaker every time. So you build a momentum, and that's something that I had to learn on my own, but I hope that a lot of people can learn now through these episodes. So the next theme that I really want to talk about, which was probably the biggest theme that came out of almost every single episode so far, is building a community with like-minded people and making sure that it's not a competition between one another. The biggest person that really talked about community was David Petroni of Smile High Club. He essentially created this community of artists, music producers, and he helps them collaborate with each other, work on shows together, and he promotes them through his mixes and SoundCloud shoutouts. And with that, he's allowed producers like Kevin Kim from Shecky on my episode 3 to Josh and Rob from episode 10 to work together to create new tracks together, even after, just introducing them to each other. So I really liked that community aspect. Teams like The Local Show, who I used to work with, really wanted to focus on creating that community, and building events like the local market allows people to really connect, network, and build that trust with one another, and to essentially support each other. Everybody talked about community, from even Michael Doman, who is one of the founders of Junk Mail Masubi. You would think that people at food night markets are essentially seeing each other as competition, but what I learned from that episode was that people are willing to help each other when, you forgot an item to start your cooking, or, maybe you don't have the right equipment, and you didn't even think about it and you need it. I really like all the support that's being given by everybody. It's all love. Like, each and every creative or business owner is going for the same direction, essentially, and there's enough room for everyone to get there. There's enough space for everyone to go alongside each other and help each other out to succeed. When you think of everyone as competition, you're going to be alone. It's not a great environment that you want to be in, and no one's going to even help you out when you need it. So anytime you want to start something, whether it's a business or some creative art or anything, find people that are like-minded, find people that could be your mentors, find people that can be your support system to essentially help you get to where you want to go. And even for me, when it came to doing videography or creating a podcast, like, I had to search for other people to ask for advice, to give me feedback. I think feedback is totally important, especially when you're trying to start out. Constructive feedback is huge. It's not about trolling. It's not about giving negative feedback just to give negative feedback. I think constructive feedback and thinking about which one will give you a better return on investment will allow you to pick and choose what will let you grow. So another big theme that I really wanted to talk about was how our parents, our grandparents really sacrificed for us to do what we want to enjoy and for us to take risks. Sometimes with parents, they might want you to have a stable job, make sure you make a lot of money, don't do things that they think is not important, like art or starting your own business. And for most of us millennials, a lot of our parents came from different countries to the US, and they risked everything. They sacrificed so much just to bring us to a good job, to a good home, have food on the table and everything like that. But just like what Kristen Nguyen and Kevin Quash said, you can't put that sacrifice to waste. You have to do things that you enjoy, And even though it might not meet what your parents think is the standard, you should do what you want, because that's the freedom that we got from our parents' sacrifice. Having the freedom to choose what we want, to not worry about basically surviving, is the best thing that we can do with that opportunity. So shout outs to Kevin Glenn, Kevin Quach, Kristen, and Kenneth for doing the things that you want to do. Another theme that I didn't think that was really going to come up in our conversations was that meditation, reflection, and journaling really helped people to grow in whatever space that they were doing. Danny Galvez was talking about how yoga is life, life is yoga. Kristen did a meditation retreat, a silent meditation retreat, and she said that that changed her life. And what I found about meditation and yoga is that this is not something that a lot of creatives and entrepreneurs are really looking into. When it comes to doing a side hustle or your hobby, you typically hear about hustle, 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 and you don't think about rest, you don't think about meditation, you don't think about slowing down, breathing. And what I found from these people that talk about these areas is that sometimes you need to step back, think about what you want to do, and try to figure out ways to improve yourself while doing what you want to do. An example is when Danny Galvez hurt her ankle while dancing, she wasn't able to dance for a very long time. And she had time to sit back, rest, and reflect on whether dance was going to continue being part of her life in the long run. And she found out that it was. And what she wanted to do, though, was approach it in a different way, where she focused on foundation over just choreography. And she started going in that path of teaching foundations more instead of just choreo for any type of song that she thinks is cool. And I think that's something that we all can do, because whatever direction we're going doesn't have to stay in that direction all the time. You don't have to stay in that direction forever. The way I think of it is that we're always iterating. We can always do twists and turns as long as it's going towards a certain vision or a certain direction that we want to go. It's funny because when I do this podcast, or when I do Project Identity videos, which are mini documentaries, kind of like the Chef's Table, but for local businesses and artists, these are just different mediums to do the same thing. Is to learn life lessons on intentional living, as well as promoting all the different people that I get to meet and I get to interview. And I never know if I'm going to do this podcast forever, but at least for now, this is how I'm going to do it. And there might be another way, and I'm okay with that. And journaling is something that I'm trying to do more. I think I don't like writing, but I use Evernote a lot. And I write a lot of ideas, and I reflect on what I want to do next. What have I done so far? What do I want to do next? And it helps me make sure that I'm sticking to a path with the same vision. And it helps me figure out whether I'm on the right path and going towards the vision that I've always wanted to go towards. And if it happens that I'm straying away, maybe I'll have to rethink about where I want to go and how I want to do things. So yes, meditation, reflection, and journaling is like huge. I really want to incorporate this in my life a lot more. So another thing that I really have been thinking about is having a team that gets along with each other and go towards the same vision. As of right now, for my videography and for my podcast, I don't really have a team. This is pretty much a solo venture. And what I'm trying to do is hopefully get some help, because right now there's just so much going on with my full-time job and for this podcast. And I'm trying to release a lot more. And it's kind of hard to really do it by myself. And so I'm thinking about bringing people along. And this is kind of like a sneak peek of what my plans are, but I'm trying to bring more people along so they can help me. And hopefully they have the same vision, because what I'm looking for and what I've learned from people like Kevin Quach, Angelo Macareg, Michael, these people find other team members, potential team members that can follow the same vision as them, and they can work well together, because if you have core values and you have similar visions, you will know that everything you do is meant for that goal. So one thing that some of you may know or may not know is that recently I left the local show. I've been part of the local show for about a year, and it's a great team. I love them so much. But as of right now, I'm moving more towards sharing about intentional living. And that's not exactly something that I believe that the local show is focusing on. And we did not leave in bad terms, but I had to leave because I need to hone down on what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. So, although I left, I still wish local show best of luck. I love everyone for bringing me in, for teaching me the ropes, and shout out to Mike Swade for doing what he's doing, because without him, like, the local show wouldn't be where it is today. So congrats and good luck to the local show. So I talked about the themes, but I think there were 4 big takeaways that I really, really wanted to stress and let people know, because these takeaways are what is going to help me move to the next level. Again, there's a lot of golden nuggets that I've learned from everybody, but if there's anything that you're going to take away from this episode, I would love it if you took these 4 things from what I've learned so far. The first one is from Kevin Galang, and he says, the worst thing that can happen is most likely not bad at all. And what he means was that, if you're starting some new business, or you're starting a hobby, or you're starting a podcast, what is the worst thing that can happen? Like, if you really think about it, the worst thing that can happen is that you end up not liking it, you take everything down, and you're done. Anything that you do, whether it is picking up a sport or anything like that, like, the worst thing, unless, you're really risking your life, it's not going to be that bad. I think we both got that from Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek, and you guys should read that book. It's an amazing book, and I learned a lot from it, so definitely check it out. The next thing that the other takeaway, and I mentioned this before, is from Kevin Quach, and he said that our parents sacrificed everything to come to America, so we shouldn't waste that sacrifice by not taking risks. So in Kevin's case, he was doing school for business, but he really, really enjoyed cooking. He really enjoyed food. He really enjoyed the idea of bringing people together to a table and getting to know each other and having a good time. And what he's done with that idea is he's co-created an ice cream shop, he's co-created an Asian bakery, and he has a restaurant pop-up that happens a couple times a year. And what he does is he's taking all these risks because he has the opportunity to, he has the freedom. And I mean, I said it all before, so I won't say too much now. And yeah, Kevin Quach is a true example of taking the opportunity to take risks. The next thing that I really want to share with you guys, and I really think this is cool, was from Danny Galvez. So Danny Galvez follows a singer, Janae Aiko, and she has this hashtag called StopFuckShit2015. Now, what does that mean? It means stop sitting on your ass and do something with your talent. And sometimes you don't know if you have a certain talent. So if you're interested in something, just do it. Just try it out and see if you're good. And if you think you enjoy it, just put time into it, practice it. I didn't really know if I was good in videography. I didn't know if I was going to continue with it, but I invested time into it. I tried to learn as much as I can and just went and just shot around, made a few videos, and it was shitty. Like, I didn't know what kind of settings to use on a camera. I just did auto and I just shot and made a video. I didn't even know what 30 FPS is, 24 FPS is, 60 frames per second, and like, I just did it. And I was just learning as I made a new video. What I try to go with is that every new video that I create, I'm trying to learn one new thing, whether it's during filming or during the post-production phase or during the releasing phase. There's something that I can tweak every time. And even today, like, I'm still learning how to do things, trying to improve this podcast, trying to improve everything I do. So what I would suggest for anyone that's trying to start anything or for anyone trying to improve on anything, just do it. Like, you never know what's going to happen. You might like it and continue on with it. You might not like it and stop it, but at least you know that you don't want to do it anymore and you won't regret it. The last thing that I really wanted to take away from all of these episodes was from Kristen Nguyen. And she talked about this concept of fire, ready, aim versus ready, aim, fire. And what that means is that when you're doing a ready, aim, fire workflow, you're preparing a lot for something that you might not end up doing because you're always unsure about whether this is the right path or not. And this is where the aiming is. And you're never going to fire. But when you do fire, ready, aim, you're firing by, for example, for me, I'm doing a video. I'm just creating videos. And ready and aim is like, I'm not really ready, but it's preparing me to ready for what I want to do. And then aiming, I don't know where I want to go exactly, but I'm just going to take that first step. And I'll take certain detours to see where I want to go. But eventually, I'm going to know where I want to go as long as I'm continuously doing videos. And that is the same for anything that you want to do, whether it is doing anything creative like dancing, art, photography, making music. Sometimes you don't know what genre you want to make yet, and you just make it. And you learn every time you make a new track saying, oh, I actually don't like this kind of genre. I kind of like something more in this genre. So, just fire, ready, aim. So those are the 4 key takeaways that I really wanted people to take from the past 10 episodes. There's so much more to learn. Definitely go back to the previous episodes and listen to them. My goal is to eventually create snippets of my episodes and share it to at least give an introduction of what these people are talking about, so it can get you an idea of what else is going to come. So the next section of this episode will be the AMA. So on my Instagram, I asked people to ask me questions that they wanted me to answer on this episode. I've gotten a good amount of questions, so I appreciate all of you guys for sending in questions. And I'm just going to go through them and answer them one by one. So the first one is from Merrick. Shout out to Mark, probably one of my biggest supporters. So his first question is, do you regret any of the choices you've made in this journey? I would say no. What I really like about what I'm doing right now is that any mistake that I've made so far has allowed me to grow to where I am now. And even though it's an amazing ride, it's like super frightening. What I've learned so much, but sometimes there are times when I just don't know what to do. Sometimes I'm like stuck and I get super, super crazy anxiety. That's something I want to talk about in another episode or video, but I never thought anxiety would hit me so hard. I've watched videos from like people like Matt Diavella, Simple by Christine. They talk about how anxiety has hit them hard enough that they feel like they can't do anything. They can't create videos, but they figured out ways to handle it. And actually with those videos, I'll admit I didn't watch it. So I actually want to go back to those videos and actually see how they handled their anxiety and see if those help me out. And maybe I can create a video talking about my anxiety and how I dealt with it. Merrick's second question is, if you could change one thing, why would you change it? And what would you expect the outcome to be? One thing I really wish I would have done was made this podcast a lot simpler. Because I am a videographer, I really wanted to do the video podcast right off the bat. I saw the standard from Matt Diavella and I was just like, okay, I got to get these mics. I got to get these cameras, got to get this setup. And it was way too crazy. And like, I didn't use gear as an excuse not to start. Like, I bought what I could as quickly as possible and then I just started. And the turnaround time from when I wanted to start and when I actually did my first interview was not that far. But I went overboard on all the gear and like the setup and everything, and that was very stressful. I should have done a few test rounds or something like that and just incrementally grown, but I don't know, I got too excited. So the next question is from Marjaqui. She has 2 questions. What is the goal you want to accomplish before the end of the year? So I have 2 goals that I want to accomplish before the end of the year. One is videography related, one is life related. The first one related to videography is that I wanted to build a strong community with the people I've interviewed and the people I will interview for my podcast. I don't want to just do an interview and just stop all communications from there. What I really wanted to do was try to learn more from them, try to interact with them, and try to help people connect. That's the main goal of what I want to do. Again, going back to the themes, like there's a lot of great benefits of building a community. And again, I don't have to build the community myself, but I do want to connect everyone that I've met so far, and I would love if those people brought other people in their communities to interact with each other. It's an amazing feeling just meeting new people, like-minded people, talking about the same struggles and giving each other advice and tips and tricks. It's really fun. I've met a lot of people that I haven't interviewed yet that I want to share with you guys, and this is just the beginning. I can't wait until you guys meet everyone. And the life goal before the year ends is that I want to do a wardrobe refresh. So I'm trying to make a video about how I'm going from my tech shirts to, a probably more simple but better wardrobe. So I've been really into like minimalism and owning things intentionally. But the one thing I haven't really focused on yet is my clothes. So in the next few months, or maybe in the next few weeks, I'm going to start replacing my current wardrobe with new pieces and throwing away the ones that I don't need anymore. And hopefully I create this capsule wardrobe that I've been really interested in and I've been wanting to do for a very long time. It's finally happening. Shout outs to Huga, shout outs to The Modest Man, shout outs to The Cavalier. Those three have really helped me figure out what I need to buy, and don't follow what I'm doing, which is just ordering things pretty much at the same time, which is refreshing my wardrobe all at once. You can definitely do it incrementally. Take your time, make sure you do a lot of research. I did a lot of research beforehand, and I tried out a lot of clothes before I actually bought it online. So I went to the stores, tried them out, and then I bought it online after a couple days after trying out other brands and all of that, and making sure that I really enjoyed what I tried on. So there's a video coming up for that probably. Hopefully I do it. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. I think the biggest problem I have is creating videos outside of this podcast, because this podcast is released every week, and so trying to find time to just do other videos is really hard. So hopefully this video will come out near the end of the year or early next year, 2020. Wow. So Marjorie actually asked another question from my first episode 0, that I wanted to follow up on. She asked, how do I balance both work and video? What I said in my previous episode was that I try to squeeze in video as much as possible. And after a few weeks or even months of doing this podcast, as well as doing like other videos, like I'll update my answer, and I'm still not really balancing everything. Like what I do now is every weekday evening, I'm just working on videos or thinking about videos, planning things, handling logistics. And on the weekends, I'm just editing or filming. So pretty much all of my weekends is either filming or editing. And I just stay in my room and just edit. So I'm not being as social as I would like to right now, but this is just something that I'm just trying to do. And this is related to what one of my friends is saying, is that this is just a season. This is temporary. And I hope that things will get easier so that I will have more time for myself outside of video and just let things happen. And I can get back to my regular life of interacting with friends and family and just hanging out with them, because I really miss that. So for all of my friends who think that I don't want to hang out with you, like I do, I'm just trying to do this right now. So please be patient with me. So the next question is from Ian Santiliano. What is your favorite song? So this is a refreshing question. This has nothing to do with video or anything. And so I appreciate that. In terms of non-local artists, I have two artists that I've been listening to a lot recently. The first one is Rich Brian. Shout outs to Rich Brian. He's from Indonesia. He's killing it. He's like 21 or something like that, and he's just killing the rap game, killing the music game. As an Asian American, I feel like it's hard to get big in the music industry, and so shout outs to Rich Brian for doing it big. The two songs I'm really enjoying right now are Kids and Slow Down Turbo. Kids is definitely a story of Brian working his way up to where he is now and telling his audience and telling the world that he's not done. He's ready to go to the next level, and he's ready to be the top. And that's an anthem that I really commend him for, because he's not satisfied with where he is, and he wants to go to the next level. And that's something that relates to me. Slow Down Turbo is like a sick song. He just combines a bunch of different musics into one track, and you guys should listen to that. The next non-local artist that I've been listening to a lot recently, or for the past few years, is Snake Hips. If you guys don't know Snake Hips, they're 2 DJs, I believe from the UK, and they just make amazing music. I've always wanted to do videos with their music, and you know, I love seeing them live. Like every time they come to San Francisco or the Bay Area, like I'm always going to their shows, even if it's on a Wednesday. And like, I'll admit that screws me over the next day at work, but it's worth it. Shout out to Snake Hips. In terms of local artists, I'm not going to go into songs, but I just want to give them a shout out. Obviously, Ian Santigliano, thank you for the question, and shout out to you. You're super talented. Shecky and Nobody Important. Listen to these 3 people. Like, they have amazing music. They're all different genres, but they're all really good. Super talented. The next question is from Sincerely Sunshine Cat. Do you ever get nervous doing your interviews, being the interviewer? All the time. I hate being in front of the camera, one. And I hate hearing my voice. I don't know. I'll admit, like right before every single interview, I get super anxious, and I get to the point where like I start freaking out right before the interview. And then like when the guest comes, it's no big deal. Like I'm cool, I'm more relaxed, and I just interact with them. But I definitely get nervous basically like an hour before. I definitely get anxious an hour before the interview, and that's something I'm trying to work on more. It honestly has affected me way more than I thought it would. And so I'm trying to just relax more, and maybe I'm going to try to meditate or focus on my breathing an hour before the interview starts. Hopefully that adds benefit. We'll see. The next question is from Dairy for Pope. She has 2 questions. The first one is, you seem to be involved in so many things. How do you avoid burnout? So right now for me, it's tough to avoid burnout. I think one thing that I really wanted to go towards is this term called essentialism. Essentialism is an idea from an author named Greg McKeown. It's all about doing one thing that goes towards your goal and forgetting about the rest. And a lot of people have these kind of ideas, but what I liked about essentialism was that you handle it in a way that's organized and that doesn't affect the people around you in a negative way. And that's partly why I had to step down from the local show. It's because there were just different visions, and what I really wanted to focus on again was intentional living. And if I didn't make videos that were mainly revolved around that, it wasn't making me happy. And so what I'm doing essentially is like slowly dropping the things that don't really add value to where I want to go. And it's not to say that this doesn't add value to everyone else. It just doesn't add value to my current vision. And people should be okay with it, because everyone has their own goals, everyone has their own passion, their own vision. And so if other people don't align with your vision, don't take it personally. It's not a competition, and there are plenty of people that will have the same vision as you do and help support you. Other ways that I try to avoid burnout is that I try to make things simpler. So when it comes to recording video, editing videos, and releasing things, like I try to create templates, I try to create workflows, checklists that allow me to not really think about what I have to do and make the time that I spend on my work a lot less. That way I don't spend too much brain energy on trying to release my podcast, for example, trying to release a video. Everything is kind of like structured in a way where I can easily just plop like a video clip on where I'm supposed to put it, and just, not worry about what else I have to add on and all of that. So I'm still consistently working on that. And the biggest thing is asking for help. Like, it's hard to do things all by yourself. And when you ask for help, you'll be surprised with how many people are willing to help you. I still haven't gotten someone to help me with my podcasting and editing, but I really am looking for someone. So if you know a college student who's interested in the same vision that I have and is willing to intern for me, let me know, refer them to me, and I'll hit them up. The next question is from Kristen Nguyen. What is your deepest fear and what is your greatest joy? My deepest fear is not being happy and regretting something that I didn't get to do. What that means is that as I live my life, like we're getting older, and I don't want to not do something and then regret it in the long run. So anytime there's an interest I want to do, or there's a vision I want to go towards, I'm just going to do it. And if I end up not liking it or end up failing, like it's okay. As long as I tried it, so that I won't regret it, saying, what if? The other thing I'm really afraid of is death. That's very morbid, I know, but that is what's motivating me to do what I want to do now, because you never know what's going to happen. And I want to do as much as I can to reach whatever potential that I have, so I can see how far I can go. And my greatest joy is literally spending time with loved ones. Without them, I would go crazy. Like, I love hanging out with my family, my friends. It's a great way for me to not think about all the things I have to do for my video, for my podcast. And it's definitely a great break. It's definitely fun going on vacation with them. So I want to continue doing that as I'm doing this podcast, as I'm doing other videography stuff. Another thing that I love doing is eating. I love eating. I love traveling and eating different types of food. I'm very, I wouldn't say I'm a foodie, but I would say I'm a food enthusiast. And what that means is just, I love to eat. I love to try different things. I don't really know how things are made, but I just want to enjoy it. And I think that really is good and bad, because when I'm eating, I get very emotional about it in terms of, if I'm sad, I can eat to make myself happy. And if I'm happy and I eat something I end up not liking, I can be sad. I can be a little disappointed. And that's the wrong way to really think about food. But as of right now, that's what's happening with me. So anytime I eat something really amazing, man, that like makes my day. The next question is from Karina Graham. What is your biggest challenge so far in podcasting? So the biggest challenge I have in podcasting so far is something that I didn't think about before, and that's logistical stuff. What that means is trying to schedule interviews, trying to make sure that I send the right information. I give them reminders, and sometimes people like cancel or reschedule, and it's not their fault. It just happens, and it's always going to happen. So that kind of so it's kind of hard trying to continuously do that and trying to make sure I have a good flow of guests coming in. The other thing is trying to make my deadlines every week, because right now I'm releasing these podcast episodes every Wednesday morning. And I already missed my deadline once when it came to releasing an episode, and that like stressed the fuck out of me. That was crazy. I thought I was okay with it, but my body just like was shutting down, and I didn't realize it until after I released the episode. Even though it was late, after I released the episode, my body just like recharged again. It was crazy. I don't know what happened. I've never had that much stress in my life before. I've gotten sick before from stress, but that was really bad. This goes back to the anxiety that I was talking about. I think I definitely want to talk about it in another video and just tell you what happened and how I tried to deal with it and what didn't work for me. And basically, I'm going to try to find out how to handle it the next time. The next question is from Artam. Who or what has been your biggest influence, both in life as well as your podcast career? So in terms of the person who's been the biggest influence in my life, I would like to say it's my cousin, Amy. She recently passed away back in July of 2019. And before she passed, she was like the most amazing cousin that you can ever have. She always hung out with the kids at the family parties to make sure that they were having fun. She always included all the adults, all the other cousins into the games and made sure everyone had a good time. She always thought about others. She always provided any advice on school. She was super smart, and she was in pre-med school. And she's someone that I really look up to, and her passing away really made me want to change the way I approach things, and it's pushing me, and that's pushing me towards what I want to do now. I have a lot of plans that I want to do revolving her and sending the message that I want to send. A little sneak peek is it's all about creating a supportive community, helping each other out, and being an organ donor. And that's something that I'm going to do real soon, because before she passed away, she signed up to become an organ donor, and she had the opportunity to save or improve the lives of 50 people. And like, that's amazing. And that's something that I've never really thought about. And you never know how many people you can save. So I really want to make several videos and do a few projects around that. And so stay tuned for that. In terms of podcasting, the person that has provided the biggest influence is Matt Diavella. A lot of the videography and podcasting things that I've been doing has been influenced by him. And he has this minimalist videography style that I really enjoy. And I try to do that with mine, whether it's creating promo videos or creating podcasts or anything like that. Like, he's someone that I really look up to, and I really enjoy his work. You guys should check him out on YouTube. Matt Diavella. He was the director of the Minimalism documentary on Netflix. So check him out. Really good. So the next question, I got several questions from this person, from D Muggy. What is your top 3 reasons for making a podcast? So the first reason is learning life skills for intentional living. And I mentioned intentional living before, so I won't repeat it, but all these lessons that I've learned so far, and the key takeaways and the themes that I talked about earlier in the episode, those could be essentially applied for anybody, whether it's someone trying to own a business, someone trying to start a hobby, or someone just trying to live their life. I think this is something I've always been interested in for a very long time, and this is the greatest way that I could think of to get all these life lessons and share it with others. And that's the second part, where I get to share it with people, because what I learn is so valuable from all these guests that I want to share it to everyone else who might get value from it. And the last thing is to definitely promote the people that I interview, because it's a win-win situation. I learned so much from them. I might as well promote what they do and what their brand is. So, these 3 reasons all really work well together. And I think the podcast is the best way to do it. So yeah, the podcast is a great medium for me right now, and I really enjoy it. I'm going to continue doing it, and we'll see where it goes. The next question is, who is your biggest inspiration in the world of videography? So again, Matt Diavella. The other person that I really, really enjoy learning from is Jesse Driftwood. He was the guy that got me into creating IG story videos, the vertical videos that you guys might have seen on my Instagram. Those are fun to make. He's such a great videographer. I love his style. And, I get a lot of inspiration from him, and he has some tutorials on YouTube that I've learned from, and it's really fun. The last person that I feel like not a lot of people know about is Parker Walbeck. And Parker was the first person that really got me to learn how to do interview videos and real estate videos, actually. And what he does is that he has a YouTube channel that gives free tutorials on how to do different things, whether it's shooting real estate, shooting interviews, anything like that. And then he has a separate course that he charges for called Full-Time Filmmaker. And that's an online course where he teaches more in-depth tutorials on how to do videography like he does. So if you guys are really new into videography, check out Parker Walbeck's YouTube, and there's so much to learn from him. The next part of that question is, who's my biggest inspiration for podcasting? Again, Matt Diavella. Be on my podcast. The second one is from Cat and Cloud Coffee. They're a coffee shop in Santa Cruz, and the podcast hosts are Chris Baca and Jared, and they talk a lot about owning a business and how to handle it. And what I love about Cat and Cloud is that they focus on core values, and one of their core values is letting people leave their coffee shop happier than they were before. That can go any way, whether it's providing you the best coffee or talking to you or anything like that. And what I love about that is that they let their customers and even their employees have a safe space at Cat and Cloud cafes. So check out Cat and Cloud. They have great coffee, great people, and a great shop. Another podcast that I really enjoy and that really help inspired me to do this was the local show, obviously. The local show, but Mike Swade, Hannah, Lauren, they create this podcast that allows people to share their story. And, it really inspired me to do this, especially with my friends. And even though like I'm revolving around a different theme, I love that they were promoting artists and entrepreneurs. So shout outs to the local show again. And the last one is How I Built This. I know this is the fourth one, but How I Built This is another great podcast. I'm not exactly into the style of them kind of cutting the clips and stuff, but they brought a lot of great stories from founders and from CEOs and all of that. So check out How I Built This as well. The next question is from C. Molino. What are your podcast goals over the next year? My biggest podcast goal is to meet more people in different creative areas as well as different industries. And I want to get different perspectives of people and see if there's actually a common theme that can be applied to anybody, because some people are not into videography, some people are not into small businesses, some people are not even into art. So when I get different people from different areas in different creative areas or industries, it hopefully allows people to finally connect with one of my guests. The other thing is to constantly improve. I want to improve everything from video to audio to how I interview people. This is like a learning process as I go. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I hope to always improve every time I do a new episode. And then his second question is, what is my dream podcast guest? Actually, my dream podcast guest is not Matt Diavella. So if you guessed that, you're wrong. My dream podcast guest is Alex Benayan. He's the author of The Third Door. I just finished his audiobook not too long ago, and it's amazing. Like, if you guys haven't heard of it, it's all about finding that third door to get to where you want to go. Because the first door is all about, if you think of it as like a club scene, the first door is the long line where 99% of the people are in line for waiting to get in. The second line is the 1%, which are the VIP, and it's hard to beat that 1%. The third door is going through an alley, jumping through a window, and running through the kitchen just to get to the club. And the stories that he shares is pretty amazing. You should check out that book. I highly recommend it. The next question is from Amanda M. Lim. If you knew what you knew about videos and podcasts, is there anything you would do differently? I would say start earlier. I would say not to spend so much money on it, but to spend more time on it. So I didn't have to worry about everything all at once when I started my podcast. I would have rather incrementally get different gear, and improve my setup so that I didn't have to worry about everything that's happening all at once, because I didn't know what I was doing, from lighting to doing interviews to recording audio. And so I had to worry all about that all at once. And it would have been better if I just slowly grew my gear so that I can focus on one thing at a time. The next question is from Kevin Matthew Galang. He's the founder of Secondhand Success. If you guys haven't heard of him, check him out. He was my first guest on the podcast. Shout outs to him. I'm happy that he got to trust me with sharing his story. He asked, what is the advice you'd give to your younger self? I would say don't let fear of failure and resistance hinder me from doing what I want to do. This is something that I had to learn all on my own later, starting around college, and I wish I did that a lot earlier. I wish I started videography way earlier in maybe at least my high school days, because I really gained interest in videos like after 8th grade and getting into high school. But I had this fear of, oh, what if people don't like my videos? I don't have the gear, blah, blah, blah. And if I didn't worry about that and I just started making videos, I feel like I would have been a lot better than I am now. But to be honest, like, it's better to start later than never. And, if there's something that you want to do and you were too afraid to do it before, just start now. It's never too late. The last question is from Gabrielle Valdez. And what made you want to start a podcast? So I did say the 3 reasons why I wanted to make a podcast, but I'll answer it in a different way in terms of why do a podcast versus a different type of video or a different type of medium. And the answer is that podcasts allowed me to release content faster than my project identity videos, in terms of like the project identity videos that I did took weeks to make. It took either 1 or 2 filming days just to get the content. Then it took weeks to edit because I had to edit this 1-hour interview and bring it down to about 10 minutes on average. And that took weeks to just sift through and just cut. And then I had to also do color correction, B-roll, and all of that. And the difference with podcasts is that I just pretty much released the whole interview, just this 1-hour interview, and it's pretty raw. And I love that about podcasts. And I prefer doing this because, again, 1 is a lot easier to edit, and 2 is that you get to see the character from the guest. You get to see how they really are. You get to see some people are funny like Kenneth or Josh and Rob, and some people are very inspirational like the Kevins, and some people are very calm like Danny, and it's really refreshing to really see these people. So I really like podcasting, and I really like doing the video part because I like to put a face to whoever's talking. So that's all the questions I had. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. I'm not gonna do this often, but I'll try to do it every once in a while to really reflect on the guests that I bring here to the podcast. Final few words. Don't forget to subscribe, get notified, and leave a review on iTunes/Apple Podcasts. This really helps support the podcast a lot. I would really appreciate it if you did that. And I will see you next time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. See ya.